Okay, it's 1 minute past the hour. Let's get going. So welcome, hello. It's great that you're able to join us for our first ever Global Doughnut Day. There are British Sign Language interpreters and Chinese language interpreters available. So if you click on the interpretation button in the navigation panel, you'll get access to those. My name is Rob. I am the Communities and Art Lead at Deal. And I am here in the Doughnut Hub, home of the Amsterdam Doughnut Coalition, where in 2019, they hit the global news with the launch of their Amsterdam city portrait. 2 years ago, they had the first ever Doughnut Days, a week of celebration of the people putting doughnut economics into action across the city. And last year, they held their first ever Doughnut Deals Day, a distributed day of action co-created by all the members of the Amsterdam Doughnut Coalition. People came from around the world, as well as from Amsterdam, to see what they were doing and were inspired by what they saw. And they asked a question: what if we did this in our places on the same day as you were doing it in Amsterdam, and we became globally connected? So that was under a year ago, and today is the result. From Melbourne to Mexico City, from Beijing to Birmingham, today there are over 30 places from around the world holding local festivals and events and offering moments for global connection. It's a day of local action where we can all learn from each other about what it means to put doughnut economics into practice. Global Doughnut Day is a co-creation from people all around the world, and it's being brought to life through our collective participation. So there are many invitations for you today. Firstly, to listen to some of the talks that we're offering as part of this Deal online program. We have a program that's going to kick off shortly, and then we have one later on today. But there are also many events offered by local organisers around the world for you to choose from. And so you can register for those on the Global Doughnut Day guide. Throughout the day, there's a global cafe that's being hosted by volunteers who are around the world as well. And you can mark yourself on the Global Doughnut Day map and connect with others that way too. So now I'm going to invite a few people who are holding local events and festivals to share what they're up to. And so where better to start the day than in Melbourne, where they have been launching their city portrait in person. So this is very much a day of connecting with people together in person and connecting around the world online. So if Nicole is there, hopefully we'll be able to create a connection. Fantastic. Hi, Nicole.
Good morning, good evening.
Hi, great to see you. So would you like to introduce yourself and the organisation and what you've been doing today?
Yes, thanks, Rob. Hello, everyone. My name's Nicole. I'm part of the Region Melbourne team. I'm actually sitting in a coat cupboard right now because on the other side of this wall, we have about 350 people here to launch what is our new city portrait for Greater Melbourne. So it is a digital portrait. I'll put a link in the chat so you can all have a look around. And it's just so exciting that we get to launch this on Global Doughnut Day and start the relay because of how time zones work. It's so nice that we get to start it and then see all the things that come. So for those who might not have heard the story before, Region Melbourne started getting curious, or was born out of crisis, unfortunately, through the Black Summer bushfires here in Melbourne in 2019, followed by the COVID lockdowns, which turned out to be one of the longest in the world down here in Melbourne. But the good thing that came out of it was this Melbourne Doughnut. This was a community vision created through lockdowns on Zoom, which really set out our ambition back in 2021 of what would it look like for Melbourne to live in this safe and just space. And so we launched that in April 2021, where Kate zoomed in back in the day. And to be able to close that loop today on Global Doughnut Day and launch the full data portrait alongside that with the city portrait now is kind of hard to believe, because it feels like about 10 years, but actually it's only been a few. So this portrait was created in collaboration with hundreds of people, hundreds of academics, 6 universities, 32 data sets. Go dive in. It's been such a collaborative effort. This was not possible by us alone. We've got an infographic up on the site of us trying to quantify how much collaboration and how many human hours went into this, and it didn't fit on a page. So that's what we're up to in Melbourne at the moment, really just having a party tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And we're running a session for Doughnuts Down Under, where we'll be in conversation with Regen Sydney, who are doing a very similar process with their Sydney donut and talking about what the connections look like down here in Australia.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Nicole. So it's great that we can start the day with you, and then in about 20 hours time, we'll rejoin you for the closing again. Just before you go, I'd love it to share sort of maybe one highlight from the evening you've had in person today.
It's hard to pick, but Rob, I think I would say, it sounds a bit cliche and corny, but like it genuinely feels like a thank you party. Like, as I said, on the side of this wall, there's hundreds of people that have come and have been involved over years, and to see them all in one room and like be able to recognize what all that relationships, all those like connections have actually turned into, which is like a really vibrant, strong community of people who are coming from so many different places across this city and so many different vantage points. So it's not one highlight, it's like the overall, what this represents for us as a city.
Brilliant. May the party continue. Thanks so much for joining. You can leave the cloak covered now and go and join everyone else. So thanks, Nicole, and hope you have a great evening. So now we're going to move from Melbourne to Beijing. And if Faye is there, I invite you to come and join us on screen. Hello, Faye. Wow. And an incredible Chinese dragon.
Hi everyone. Yeah. Hi everyone from Beijing. We're hosting an in-person Global Doughnut Day gathering here in the Wildbound office. And here's our colleagues from Wildbound and people who are also gradually joining us. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Good to
Great
see
you
you
can
all.
join us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And we have our Chinese interpreter, Heran, downstairs. We're also live casting this whole event in China in Chinese. We're expecting around 200 people to join us online. Yeah, and we'll also host a workshop here in our office. Yeah, like I think as I mentioned to you before, although donut as a food is not really common in China, but we have something very similar to the concept. If I could move closer for everyone to see, this is called a peace button in our Chinese culture, and we also have it behind the wall. And we think this symbol is very similar with what Doughnut Economics is trying to say. It's a lot about balance. So within these two circles, and the outer circle represents Tian, which is the sky or the heaven. The inner circle represents the Di, which is the earth. And us as Ren is actually living in between that. So actually balancing the heaven and the earth is where get us a sustainable future. And also the symbol represents the inside and also the outside, the balancing within our inner climate and the outer world. This is also what we do as Wildbound. We try to connect people to nature and also build this inner and outer sustainability where we can flourish ourselves. Yeah. So looking forward to connect with everyone. I know many of our members or participants would really like to connect people from different parts. We're also hosting this Doughnut Day. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Thanks so much, Faye. Would you also mind sharing what plans do you have with Wildbound and the people you're working with coming up in the coming months?
Yeah, there are plenty of things. Actually, we also did 2 extra events before the Doughnut Day as a warming up event with international teachers or bilingual school teachers in China to talk about the doughnuts concept and how they can bring that into their classroom. And in fact, 2 teachers have already done a speech after that. Around 800 students attended it. Yeah, and today we'll be live casting the events and also hosting workshops and so on.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much for that beautiful kind of dance to start with as well. It is a day of festivals and festivities. So bringing that really kind of brought that to life for us. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a good day.
Yeah, that's a Chinese dragon. Sorry, lion. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So to finish our initial global connections, we're now going to head to Portugal, to São Mamede, where we have Adolfo in the community there. So hello, Adolfo.
Hello, good morning, Rob. Hello, everybody.
How are you?
Really, really good. This precious day today here in Beirão, Portugal. We are very happy to stay here and to start our Global Doughnut Day. It's a really amazing moment for us. Waiting for this moment, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing here today?
Okay, we only wanted to open some talks about our local dimension in our region for the donuts, and later we are very, very glad to do other talk more in a global context from the Latin American view of the donuts. Yes, and at the end of the day, we will have our opening day of this space. That is our donuts space. It's an applied economy space to work with the community, with kids, with entrepreneurs, with everybody that wants to try how donuts can run and can operate.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. And I can see someone in the background has got a sheet of paper. You've been doing some artwork. Yeah,
here you have all the community. Podem mostrar os cartazes se quiserem.
Hey, wow.
Yes.
I think one of them needs to go up the other way up. The Earth is doing a headstand.
Yeah.
Beautiful artwork.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all the donuts community all around the world. It's an amazing moment for us. I hope to see you soon in some moments, some spaces, wherever.
Great.
It will be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Adolfo. Hope you all have a great day.
Okay. ¿Quieren decir cualquier cosa? Okay.
Bye. So yeah, the donut is as much about art and play as it is about the sort of the deep sort of the science and the academic side of things. So great to bring that into it too. So now we're going to now we've had these lovely connections across the world. What we thought would be great is to have a little story of how Deal got started and how it's turned into what we see today. So I'm going to invite Kate Raworth and Carlota Sanz to share a little bit of that backstory for us now. So Carlota and Kate, if you're there.
We are here. Thanks, Rob. And
Fantastic.
it's fantastic to see this story kicking off all over the world. So Carlota and I co-founded Deal together, and I'm going to just launch into the story. We're going to tell together about how this organization and how this work got started. So the story of Deal. The story of Deal begins with the story of the donut. But the story of the donut, of course, nothing starts with itself. Everything has a backstory. So I want to start with, where did the donut come from? And I was really influenced by some ideas in the 1990s that I didn't quite realize were influencing me as much as they were. The first one was the work of Herman Daly, who's one of the founding fathers of ecological economics. And he drew this diagram that you can see on the screen, saying, well, the economy is, of course, a subsystem of the ecosystem, the living world. And maybe in old times, hundreds of years ago, we lived in an empty world. The economy was quite small compared to the whole of the living world. But today we live in full world, and the economy is banging up against the edges of the biosphere. This diagram had a huge impact on me. What if the economy is banging up against the edge of the biosphere? This must change what we focus on when we try to make the economy work. I also really was influenced by a diagram I came across from Friends of the Earth in the Netherlands. And they had drawn this picture, you could see, saying there's bottom arrows saying there's minimum resource use that everybody needs to ensure the quality of life, but there's also a top limit beyond which we must not go, because that will be overconsumption. And in between those two is a balanced space of resource use that they call the environmental space. Now, these ideas sat in the back of my head without me really quite knowing it for quite a long time, few decades, until in 2009, Earth system scientists published this diagram. Johan Rockstrom, Will Steffen, Catherine Richardson, and many others. And this showed that we were overshooting many planetary boundaries, overshooting our pressure on Earth's life-supporting systems. It was like a quantification of Herman Daly's diagram, but we're not just touching the side of the biosphere. Those red lines show us they were massively overshooting our pressure on the planet. And so I thought, in my job, sitting in my desk at Oxfam, well, if there is an outer limit of pressure that we can put on the planet, so too there's an inner limit. We call it human rights. And I started to doodle in the way that many ideas begin, just on the back of an envelope, and then drew it up in a clunky form in PowerPoint, and then worked with the designer, Christian Gauthier, in Oxfam to create the first donut image. The idea being, leave no one in the hole, but don't overshoot Earth's limits. Now, these ideas of circular dynamic coming into balance, they may be a new visualization in Western economic mindset, but of course they have an ancient history, recognizing that indigenous cultures the world over have long visualized health, well-being, thriving as some kind of form of dynamic balance. And I think of this as a Western mindset recovery, coming back towards a visual wisdom and a way of living that's been held in indigenous cultures for millennia. If the goal of the donut is to thrive in balance, we are very far out of that right now. Billions of people falling short on the essential needs and overshooting many planetary boundaries, and more than this now, as we found from updates of the planetary boundaries. So if we need to transform this story, start coming into the donut from both sides, how would we do that? And it's not with a particular set of policies, because the contexts in the world are so diverse, which is why I wrote Doughnut Economics, 7 ways to think like a 21st century economist. How should we think? Ways of thinking that will give each one of us in our very different context a chance of being part of turning this story around. And so those 7 ways set out the old way of thinking and an alternative, an invitation to a new way of thinking. When this book was published in 2017, what blew me away was the number of people who said, yep, I like these ideas, they make a lot of sense to me, but I actually want to do them. I want to put it into practice. People started playing with it, from school students and teachers, from communities in Birmingham to the government of China, from the government and the city of Amsterdam to members in Cornwall gathering together. What would it mean to do this? How do we do a Berlin city donut? I was just blown away by the creativity, the play, and the will to make this happen. And so I started asking this question: what would best help pioneers turn Doughnut Economics into transformative action? And it was when I met Carlota that we decided together to co-found Doughnut Economics Action Lab in 2019. And I'm going to hand over to her now to tell the rest of this story.
Hi, everyone. So lovely to be here. So much energy already. I am Carlota, And I'm going to pick up the story from Kate, because as she said, we created Deal precisely to work with this emergent community of practitioners that were already putting these ideas into practice. And the name was from the very beginning very intentional. We wanted to turn ideas into action, and it was clearly in the spirit of experimentation. We've always been focused on learning what it takes to spread a powerful idea like the donuts wide, with integrity, and at the speed and scale that these times require. And so the way we've been doing it since then has been really creating and co-creating tools that help to turn the ideas into action. And we've been putting them in the comments and inviting others to play with them, to innovate with them, to adapt them to their own contexts. And so we've been working over the past years with pioneers and change makers across 6 main themes of practice, what we're calling our themes of practice, Deal's themes of practice, from cities and regions to communities and arts, research and academia, schools and education, business and enterprise, and government and policy. And we're now a team of 14 people working remotely and working in very close collaboration with an amazing, growing, diverse community of practice. From the local community-led networks and organizations that are using these ideas to bring transformative change to their places, many of which are actually hosting today's local festivals, to perhaps other organizations working more closely with city governments, business consultants, educators, speakers, and many more. And what we've seen is that each of these are playing such a unique and valuable role in turning these ideas into practice. And so it's just been fascinating to see this community coming to life over the past 4 years, and the many, many ways in which change makers have chosen to engage with these ideas all over the world. And so in designing Deal, we've followed some principles that have helped us and shaped and inspired Deal's evolution. And so we wanted to take some time now to celebrate them with you and to share what they've meant in practice for us. So we've gone where the energy is. We've always said that we wanted to focus on working with those who already found these ideas useful in their place. So we haven't really tried to convince, to push, to persuade, but rather following the energy of those people that already found these ideas powerful. And we really recognize that every change maker, every teacher, every local counselor, every community organizer in their place are the best position to judge that energy and work with that judgment. And I think this event is also a beautiful example of that, right? It's been driven by the energy of local organizers that wanted to make this happen. And we always have said that we believe really a lot in the power of peer-to-peer inspiration, right? We believe that the most inspiring person might actually be someone just like yourself, who is already doing something that you thought was impossible or that you hadn't imagined. And we've seen that since the very beginning at Deal. So teachers inspiring teachers, mayors inspiring mayors, activists to other activists. And again, this event started with peers in Amsterdam doing a first Doughnut Day, and then others really wanting to bring this into their own places. And again, today will be about hearing from peers across the world. And finally, we think that economic transformation requires big teamwork. It takes a huge ecosystem of actors, of interconnected worldviews embedded in different cultures, in different traditions, to have the traction on the scale that we need to drive the change needed. So no single idea can do it all. And that's why a lot of our focus has been to create tools that can be integrated in other movements, in other organizations. And again, this day is also a massive example of what that big teamwork means. It's the first Global Doughnut Day, bringing together so many people. And so I want to finish this space to really thank and acknowledge the incredible work that has gone into making this happen. It's just been incredible to see it coming to life. And so thank you, everyone. We very much look forward to this first ever Global Doughnut Day and the ripples that it's going to create, I'm sure. I'm handing over back to Rob. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kate and Carlota, for sharing that story. And just to echo that this has been created by so many people. When we came up with the idea together with both people in Amsterdam and in London and Munich and Cambridge and Oxford, they said, what would this mean to create this? And we said, we don't want Deal to own or control it. It needs to be in the hands of everyone. And so we've gone a very intentional process to co-design and co-create this with so many people around the world. And I'll be sharing the story of how we've done that, as well as some insights from how to organize as a group or network for change later. But what's going to happen next is we're going to have an introduction to Doughnut Economics by Kate, asking also, what have you been learning as you seek to turn these concepts into practice? We have very intentionally made this a meeting space rather than a webinar, which means you can type all the questions and respond to each other in the chat and connect with each other's breakout rooms and really learn from each other's stories, because we don't have the answers. You're the people who are putting these ideas into practice in your place, in your context, with your culture, your unique nature, your unique needs where you are. You're the people who are leading this work. And so we want to create as many opportunities today for you to share what you're experiencing and inspire others through your peer-to-peer inspiration. So you can join Kate next for a talk on introducing Doughnut Economics. Parallel to that, Erin Sahan, who is Deal's business and enterprise lead, is hosting a session to provide an introduction to the way businesses can engage with Doughnut Economics and to share insights from change makers who are using the concept and the tools to transform companies around the world. After that, Leonora Grecheva, Deal's cities and regions lead, will host a session introducing the framework we've come up with in collaboration with many people called Doughnut Unrolled, that takes the global goal of the donut and says, how do we apply that thinking in our place, be it the neighborhood, be it the city, be it in urban design and different sectors. So she'll look at the many practical possibilities to turn it into workshops and processes, policies or projects in communities, local governments, or specific sectors. Parallel to that, I'll be joined by members of the Amsterdam Doughnut Coalition here in the Groene Hub with Rosa Tibosch and Mertje Bos to explore how people are organizing as groups and networks for change with Doughnut Economics at the city, regional, and national scale. And we'll hear from Kyle Su, Geeta Sharma, and Manas Rath, other practitioners around the world, to explore how do we get started, how do we grow the network, and how do we connect with the municipality. After these talks, we'll have a summary from each of these sessions hosted by Will Bull, who's the fantastic Global Doughnut Day project manager, who's been holding this co-creative process so beautifully. And we'll have further connections like we did with Melbourne, Beijing, and Portugal. So we'll continue this kind of feeling of connection whilst we might be in our particular space with others. Locally, we can see and be inspired by the work of other people around the world. There's also the Global Cafe, just to remind you, you can go there at any stage and have conversations and breakout rooms on topics you want to explore. There's a forum where you can ask questions and respond to the questions of others. And then there's the map. And so we invite you to add yourself and a picture of yourself wherever you may be. And you might find people locally you didn't realize were there who are interested in Doughnut Economics too. So thank you for joining us for this first connection. And I hope you enjoy the next few hours of talks from all these different perspectives across the Deal team. And so I'll wave, I can't see anyone, but I hope you're waving back.